Daring Do, Moondancer, A True Love by Swishdavo. For several months, Daring Do had very hard to write some new books because she had lacked of inspiration, even though that she had gone on many dangerous missions lately. She had written down almost all of her adventures in those books, but recently, for the past 3 months, she hasn't been on any mission or any adventure because she had just felt any passion anymore about adventures, and she didn't want to fail her readers about her book's adventures. But at the same time, she didn't know what to write or any. It hasn't been any great adventure opportunities lately. So she decided to go to Ponyville to see her friend Rainbow Dash. She hoped that Rainbow Dash could get something more inspiration. She wrote to Rainbow, and she was so happy to see her friend, but she also wrote that not to tell that any pony should know about her, because if they know that A.K. Yielding is coming to Ponyville, she would never had any calm moment. Rainbow wrote back and said that she won't tell any pony about this visit, because if she did, she wouldn't have any as calm moment at all. So Daring Do was happy to arrive a few days later at Rainbow's home. Rainbow had made a special guest room for her just because she didn't want to stay in town. Then the secret would have been out that J.K. Rowling has been there. And of course, Rainbow asked why she suddenly came for a visit, since she has been her books to read writing. Daring Do explained that she hasn't been reading any books for the past 3 months. Rainbow was very surprised and asked why. She hasn't been on any adventures for the past 3 months. Even though she has been finding out some strange and even daring news. But Rainbow had often thought that Daring Do often had it's very easy to get some adventures. But lately she hasn't been finding any good adventures to do. But then she asked Rainbow if she knows any particular adventures that she can go on. But Rainbow said that she hasn't been any much lately because she hasn't been a Wonderbolt and a teacher in a local school, so she couldn't have been taking care of it. But she probably will ask Twilight if she knows any dangerous mission or at least some adventure she could go for. Perhaps looking for a legendary treasure has been lost for centuries. And of course, Daring Do appreciated that how much she want to help. So Rainbow left to go to see Twilight. Meantime, Daring stayed behind to read some of her old books and try to find inspiration from them. But luckily, it didn't get so much information there. But at its castle, Twilight was actually studying some magic when Rainbow appeared, and she tried to keep this as a secret because her friends didn't even know that Daring Do was actually at her home. So she tried to make up some excuse. She remembered their old adventures, and she wanted to ask if there were any other adventures that she could do or perhaps read about, because she remembered the story when she went with Pinky to Griffinstone to try to find solution to this friendship problem there, including when they try to find the old treasure that once belonged to Griffins. But Twilight said that she didn't know or remember any particular treasure that she could do. And of course, Rainbow accepted that and went back home. course, Daring Do was unhappy hearing that Rainbow didn't find any information on what kind of adventure she could do. But there was just one thing that she did remember. Twilight has a friend, Moondancer, who works in Camelot. She actually now works at the library in Camelot. Perhaps she knows something, because she is like Twilight, better reading her books, and she has studied a lot about history, on magic, and the quest of history. Daring Do thought that maybe could be some adventure, so she actually decided to go to Camelot, but more in a disguise, not as a J.K. Rowling, but some different type of disguise. Rainbow said that she would like to hear about this adventure if she finds it. So Daring Do actually stayed in Ponyville for only for a few days, so get her to relax and so that she could spend some time with a friend, Rainbow, get to know each other more better, talking about the past adventures themselves had. And then next couple of days, she actually went to Camelot. She knows where the library are, so she went there straight there, and she asked some ponies if they know where to find Moondancer. And one pony actually pointed to a table a little bit near along the middle of the room. She actually went there, and they started talking. And then Moondancer asked why she's that something there. She said that she loves to study about history and perhaps if she knows any about some secret treasures somewhere, or at least something. Moondancer actually know about several treasures. There was just one that she had recently been reading about. Since the Questia was founded at least several generations ago, there was just one temple that she read about maybe several years ago that was located in northern borders near Crystal Empire. But this temple once used to be predates the Crystal Empire, and it was once belonged to the Crystal Pony's ancestors. It used to be a city that owned it in the area, but suddenly it was a war or a natural disaster that destroyed the entire town, except the temple managed to survive. Of course, the ponies survived and they managed to migrate southward, in which they settled and formed the Crystal Empire. But over time, the location to this temple was lost. Only then, only a few ponies did actually remember, and some of them actually wrote down a paper. Not as a map, more as like a description how the town looks like and some features of the landscape. But many ponies had read it, and no pony could decipher where this location of the town was originally placed. Even Moondancer had once tried to decipher this document or this historical paper, but nothing has turned out. Only the one thing is that there was one place that she managed to decipher was actually located in the north. That was all. Daring Do asked if she could see the paper, but sadly the paper was locked up in a safe, so no one could have access to it. But it was just a copy of it, as she can't borrow. She studied the copy and managed to translate exactly where to find this treasure, or it is a temple. Moondancer asked how she could be easily to translate this. Daring Do explained that she had been translated these kind of maps or documents many times before, and it has been easy. But then she asked who she really is, because this kind of particular ability is not very common among ponies. Only those treasure hunters, or at least historian, have this particular adventures, or at least this particular ability to translate that sight. She whispers to Moondancer that she's actually Daring Do. She's just avoiding disguise and not being detected. Moondancer used to smile to say that she had read all the stories and but then she asked if she could join Daring Do on her next mission to find this temple. Daring Do thought that maybe since she's just a librarian, and even though that she's skilled unicorn, this will be too dangerous. But she couldn't say no because she had helped her so much. So decided to leave within a few days. First they took the train all to the Crystal Empire. There they get more supplies, tools, and anything they needed, and there they went off to find treasure. Of course, much of the time over centuries have been passed, much of the landscape has been altered. Much of the mountains has been covered in snow, pretty much harder to describe the exact location. After nearly 4 times to find the location, Daring Do was getting frustrated, believed that she had translated the wrong time 4 times, and he was giving up to find the treasure or at least a temple. But at least for them, both Moondancer and Daring Do decided to set camp in the area where they were because it was getting dark. And around nighttime, they just sit in the campfire talking about why couldn't they find this treasure? Or is there any sign about this temple or any kind of sign for what remains of this town? And of course, they had no answer. But the next morning, Moondancer actually woke up quite early, just around the time sunrise. Then she saw exactly what Daring Do had never experienced. She immediately calls out for Daring Do to come out, and that's what she did. It turns out they were actually nearby the temple. They could see the temple in the distance. They had been so close all the time, but couldn't see it because it was foggy last night, so they didn't know if they were in the wrong area or in a good area. So they actually packed up all the things they had and went straight there. On the way, they actually saw remains of all the buildings. Mostly it was very still intact, and there was streets, and that was actually they know they were exactly the right town. And it was even when they studied the buildings with the remains of it, it actually indicates was right. There was actually some sort of natural disaster caused the town was to be destroyed and abandoned. They managed to find a treasure, or at least a temple. The temple itself, they found out why it was so well preserved, because it was actually located inside a mountain, deep inside a mountain. There was only a small entrance that was just 2 pillars and 2 ponies outside, and staircase. They actually went inside, and well inside it was at least 3 massive wooden doors they opened. After the last one, it was actually something they didn't expect. First they found some golden treasure, but it was actually something else. This room, it was so big. It was like a big circle. It was actually contained bookshelves. Bookshelves after bookshelves. It was like 40 or perhaps 100 bookshelves in that particular room. It turns out this treasure was actually a library. This library had contained knowledge from the beginning of the time of foundation of Equestria, and also some of the foundation of the several new settlements around across Equestria. And all the documents, paper scroll, all was in very good condition. They could just open them, and it was like if they were newly written. So there were no sign of any signs of degeneration of the papers, because the documents were so in perfect condition. It was like they were written yesterday. It turns out the cold inside the mountain and outside had kept all the library in perfect condition. This library had contained of history, centuries of knowledge, and that could actually get put some new information into the stories about their adventures. Both Daring Do and Moondancer could never explain these adventures to one another, and only that a few months later it came out a new book. Daring Do wrote a book, The Adventure of the Lost Treasure, or the Lost Temple. And of course, Moondancer was the world's first pony to receive a copy of the book with her autograph and everything. Moondancer actually visited Daring Do at her home only about 2 months later after that, and they have actually been started dating. It turns out they fall in love with each other after they found this temple and been dating since. This was actually something that Daring Do had never experienced, and especially with its finding an ancient temple with its lost knowledge, because knowledge is also a treasure. And both Daring Do and Moondancer can never be so happy to find one of the greatest adventures they have been on, and especially to find a treasure that has been lost for generations. And it is now they have more information about their ancestors when they was founding Equestria and some several generations later on. And now they also have to understand why this town was abandoned after that, and how this perfect condition of these documents could still be preserved after so many years. And sometime after this, they also continued dating for the past 2 years afterwards, and actually they decided to get married. Daring Do and Moondancer actually got married in Candlelight, and this was actually one of the biggest celebrity weddings in a long time. Daring Do had actually asked Rainbow to be her bridesmaids, and Twilight was actually Moondancer's bridesmaids. And after this wedding, they actually went to Saudi Arabia for celebrating their honeymoon for 3 whole weeks. It was just one great time. But it was just one other thing that they actually wanted to do. They actually wanted to celebrate their new life together and wanted to have a family. Daring Do decided to be a mother first. And she actually had twin daughters, which they named Treasure Yam. And Treasure Yam was more like her mother, Moondancer, to be reading and writing stories. She was just really loved to write her own stories, and she actually became an author like her mother. And at some point, she actually got married and had 2 daughters of her own. And her second twin daughter was named Atlas Heart. Atlas Heart was more like also like her mother, but she didn't like for so much for adventures, but she loved to read about adventures. But this is one thing that she loved the most, helping others. And she actually became a doctor when she was older, and married another doctor, and they had 2 sons together. 5 years after the twins were born, Moondancer had a daughter which she named Amber Glow. Amber Glow was more like her mother, and she was so passionate in reading about books and to be helping others. She actually became a teacher in Candlelight. And that's how Daring Do, Moondancer found the true love of the family. The end.